In 2021, an exceptional event occurred that involved a horizontal gene transfer where an insect, the whitefly, stole a gene from a plant. This is the first time that we have seen such an event occur in science, so you can imagine that the news sources took advantage of this. After a team of scientists produced their peer-reviewed article, a news source called Nature.com published a summary of it. When discussing science articles and news sources, it can be difficult to discern the truth, but here in this presentation, I will explain the key differences of the two articles. The particular story that I will be examining is from Nature.com, and it is titled, First Known Gene Transfer from Plant to Insect Identified. The first thing that we see on this news story is a Getty image of two whiteflies, and the scientific name of this being the Bemisia tabaci. The summary of the news source states, discovery that a whitefly uses a stolen plant gene to elude its host defense may offer a new route to new pest control strategies. The article then goes on to explain how reported in a scientific journal called Cell, there was the first known example of a natural gene transfer from a plant to an insect. This occurred when the white fly, Bemisia tabaci, swiped a gene from a plant. The gene neutralizes a toxin that plants produce to defend against insects. This means that the whitefly is now able to destroy more plants without consequences. Whiteflies are some of the most destructive pests, so genetic thievery is common amongst their lineages. The news article also explained the researchers' process briefly. The author said that the researchers scoured the B. tabaci genome for stolen genes and found one that seemed to have not evolved in other insects but in plants. This gene transfers phenolic glycosides that ward off pests. The news source states that the researchers used a double-stranded RNA molecule to shut down the expression of the whitefly gene, and from that, the whiteflies died, which meant that you can keep pesky whiteflies away from plants without harming the environment with pesticides. To confirm the results, the researcher analyzed the sequence of similar genes in plants and determined that the whitefly gene was their evolutionary kin. While inherently including more facts and figures, the peer-reviewed study created by a team of researchers does an effective job of explaining the horizontal gene transfer with specific details. It is titled, Whitefly Hijacks a Plant Detoxification Gene That Neutralizes Plant Toxins. The researchers found that this was an exceptional event of a horizontal gene transfer where the whitefly acquired the plant-derived phenolic glycoside malintransferase gene, which is also called BTPM-AT1. The gene allows whiteflies to neutralize phenolic glycosides. The results were confirmed by transforming tomato plants to produce small interfering RNA molecules that silence the BTPM-AT1 gene. The impact of this is that herbivores have the ability to obtain the genetic toolkit of their host plant and develop resistance to plant defenses. Furthermore, the horizontal gene transfer of BTPM-AT1 facilitates whiteflies to attach a malonyl group to phenolic glycosides. This renders the common plant-produced secondary metabolites almost completely innocuous, which means that they are not detrimental or hurtful. Now, the same gene, BTPM-AT1, produced solubility of ingested phenolic glycosides, and the gene also prevents glucosidase action of phenolic glycosides, which possibly prevents the release of more toxic aglycones. This diagram was drawn by me and represents a summary of the researchers' experiment and findings. Now, as you can tell, we have the insect and also the BTPM-AT1 gene that's in orange. When we have the phenolic glycosides, this causes death for the insect. However, when we have the phenolic malonoglycosides, which is the addition of that malonyl group, what we have is no death for the insect, and this means that the insects have actually genetically modified themselves to be resistant to this pesticide. Now, to get to the discrepancies of the two sources, we have the primary source, which is the Cell journal, and the news article, which is Nature.com. Nature.com did not feature any relevant figures or things that could help us understand the experiment. They did not go into deep detail on how the gene works or what it even is. And they also did not provide background on the coevolution of insects and herbivores. They also did not provide any discussion of metabolic detoxification process, which is necessary when understanding how the horizontal gene transfer works. So overall, what we can see is that news sources are going to only include the bare minimum, and when understanding science and biology, you have to actually go and search for yourself in peer-reviewed articles and studies so that you can determine what is actually going on in a certain phenomenon. Here are my sources, and thank you so much for listening.